Okay, great. Yes, so if anyone has anything, again, that comes up throughout the time that you're here, then feel free, again, just to unmute yourself, type in the box at any time, any questions. And you can start just by sitting in a comfortable position. And just close your eyes, take your attention inside. So the practice today, it's something that we're going to do once a month. And it's different than the weekly yoga classes, which we're working in different ways. In this practice in particular, we're going to be working on more of the subtleties of opening up the energies and harmonizing all the layers of our being. So rather than using the more active pranayamas and poses, we're going to be working with more of these subtle breathing exercises and poses. And what that's going to do is really deeply restore the nervous system. And as the nervous system is restored, then there's a greater opportunity for that sense of inward connection. So with the eyes closed, the spine tall, just make sure you're comfortable. Chest is spread. You can bring the hands into a mudra if you like. So just a reminder, the tip of the index finger to tip of the thumb, the other three fingers extended is Jnana mudra, the mudra of wisdom. Also very nice for tuning with the subtle energies. If there's another one that you're working with, then go ahead. Elbows extended. And just for a moment here, just be aware of your body in that space that you're in. Just notice any sounds that you might hear in the building or outside of it. Just starting to observe. And then notice if there is a closer sound that you can hone in on. Not feeling the need to analyze or figure it out, just paying attention, being aware. And then notice if there's an even closer sound. And if there's not, it's no problem, but just be aware. And then become aware of your breath. Notice where it moves in your body. Is the belly moving? Is the chest? Are the ribs? Just notice what's happening, not trying to change anything at this point, just observing, being aware. And then scan your body from the crown of your head down to the tips of your toes and notice if there's any feelings, any tension, any tightness, anywhere where there might be feelings of flow. Just notice if there's anything that stands out to you in how your body physically feels in this moment. So you're just giving yourself the opportunity to bring your senses inward, to detach a little bit from the external world, from all of the demands and the responsibilities that you have, all of the roles you play, all the hats you wear. All of that just naturally falls away as we bring our attention inward. Just imagine a rose out in front of you, and take that rose and let it be a suction cup rose or a vacuum cleaner rose, and just run it around your space and let that collect up anything that might draw your attention out of your space this morning. Maybe something that happened yesterday or something that you have coming up. And just allow it to collect up into that rose, put that rose out in front of you, and then destroy it. Just let it dissolve and disappear, moving that energy out of your space just for the next hour. So what we're going to be doing, just be aware of your breath. What we're going to be doing is harmonizing the koshas, or the 5 layers to our being that are described in the yoga tradition. So the first kosha, some people think of them as going from out, further outside your body and then closer into your core. And some people think of them as going from the layer of the skin outward. So either way is okay to think about it. But just notice those layers. Think of them in 5 layers, and notice if you go from the outside in or the inside out, as I just described them briefly. So there's Annamaya Kosha, which is the body. It's the body sheath. So that's what you're experiencing sitting here physically in your space. And then there's the Pranamaya Kosha. The Pranamaya Kosha is our prana, or the breath. So just be aware of your breath. And then there's the Manomaya Kosha, the mind and its functions. And the aim then in the practices are to calm the mind, focus the mind. So those are the 3 layers of kosha that we'll be working with as we work to harmonize the body, the mind, and the breath. And what that does is it gives us access to Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is the wisdom aspect of us, which takes us to Anandamaya Kosha, which is the bliss body. So just let any of that imagery or that awareness just dissolve for you. And we'll start with mantra. So the mantra we'll chant today is the Loka mantra. And the Loka mantra is about, may all beings everywhere be free and at peace, and may my actions contribute to that freedom and peace for all. And how we are able to have our actions contribute to that freedom and peace to all is by us harmonizing these layers of our being so we can access our wisdom and access our bliss. And that bliss vibration that we give out to our families and our communities in the world, that is where we have the biggest impact. So the mantra is quite simple. It's Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. So we'll chant that 12 times, and you can just join in. It's okay if you start to join in and you're fumbling the words around, just follow along. And that's how the vibration will start to call you. It will start to come from within. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. 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 Loka samasta tsukino 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 bhavantu. And just notice how that vibration feels in you. And take your attention to the center of your head. So imagine that space just behind the eyes and in between the ears. And just notice as we work with some of the breathing practices, and then we'll do a short guided meditation, and then we'll do some poses. But notice as we're sitting here, if you start to doze off or kind of bob or fall asleep, and just let that be okay. When we actually slow down, we get to see what the state of our nervous system really is. And when the nervous system has been on overdrive or has been strongly stimulated, either ongoing or recently, then when we slow down, it's going to show us how tired it is. So just be patient and compassionate. Keep bringing your attention back. Just join in with what you can pick up at that moment, but just let it be okay. So send attention to the center of the head, just behind the eyes and in between the ears. And just notice your natural breath. Don't control it in any way. Take your attention to your nostrils and feel the breath moving in and out through the nostrils. Notice the temperature of that air. Would you consider it warm or cool? Is that temperature slightly different on the inhale and on the exhale? And then bring your hands onto your belly and just rest them there. And as you inhale, let the hands move out away from your spine. So you're pressing the belly out as you inhale. And as you exhale, relax it in and just exaggerate that movement for a few breaths here. So as you expand the belly, as you breathe, you actually draw the breath into the deepest part of the lungs. The more full and complete breath we have, the more in tune with ourselves and with life we are. Now shift your hands up to your ribs. So you can put your thumbs to the back side of your body and the fingers toward the front so that you're cradling your ribs just below the breasts. And now as you inhale, see if you can feel and set the intention to let your ribs expand to the sides. They'll flare out a little bit. And as you exhale, notice them just drop back in and down. Keeping the shoulders relaxed at this point. And then just rest your fingers, let's say the pads of the fingers, just right on the clavicle or the collarbone. And as you breathe now, just see if you can, if you notice and can intend to have a little lift of the clavicles. Or if you don't feel it, the clavicles, go just below, just right above the breast, below the clavicles. Shoulders stay relaxed, but just a little lift of the chest there. And now keep the fingertips there and begin your next breath with the belly. Expand the belly and then spread the ribs and then lift that chest that little bit. And then exhale, relax it down. So work with this 3-part breath. You can keep your hands up there in your chest to feel that little lift at the end, or you can bring them back to your knees in your mudra. But work very consciously with the belly and then the ribs, that little bit in the chest. So we're working with pranamaya kosha, which will affect the pranamaya kosha being the breath, the prana, and it's going to affect the physical body. So notice how you might change as you continue to breathe in this way, how it feels in your body, and it will affect the mind, the manamaya kosha. So notice again if you feel any difference you might feel in the mind, if any. Now continue with this breath in the 3 parts. You can bring your hands down to your knees if they're not there yet. And as you inhale, let's see, inhale naturally. And as you exhale, count the length of your breath. Slow. And as you inhale, just inhale to half that amount. And then continue in that pattern, working from the belly to the ribs, the chest. And your exhale will be double the length of your inhalation. So if you're exhaling to 4, you're inhaling to 2, as an example. So take in as much breath as you need for that half amount. It doesn't have to be the same speed, but it should be half the count. So it means you might breathe in a little more deep, a little more, I don't want to use the word fast, but a little more air in those 2 counts. When during those 4 counts, you're letting the air out much more slowly to get to 4. And now shift the pattern to inhale and exhale to the same count. So based on your exhale, if your exhale has been 4, see if you can inhale to 4 and work in that even pattern. And if it feels, just notice how it feels. If it feels more challenging or easier for you. And if it feels more challenging, but too challenging, then just go back to that previous one where you're exhaling to double the length of the inhale. The breath is just like a wave. So it cleanses as we breathe consciously and fully. It washes through the channels, those energetic channels, the nadis, what's called the shrota in Ayurveda. The shrota in Ayurveda feed the organs and the systems. The breath is a way that we cleanse. It's a way we bring balance and harmony to the nervous system, and that we nourish our connection to those higher koshas, we'll say, or those, the fourth and fifth kosha, the wisdom layer and the bliss layer. And just let go of the breath now, just any control over, just let it be natural. But still start it in the belly and then the ribs and then the chest. We're going to do Brahmari Pranayama, so the humming bee breath. And I don't want you to count though. Normally I give you counts of how many rounds to do. But take the mind completely out of it. I'm going to time you for 2 minutes. And just be with the breath, with the full inhale, starting at the belly, then the ribs, and then the upper chest. And then the exhale, hum just as long and slow as you can. And just let yourself melt into just that process. So you can begin when you're ready. You bring the hands in front of the face, the index finger above the eyebrows, middle and ring finger on the eyelids, pinky on the cheek. Thumbs go inside the ears to close off the sound. Start with an inhale through the nose and exhale, hum out loud, but with the mouth closed. And go ahead and just breathe. Keep the shoulders relaxed so that they don't get tired and sore. And then after you finish your next round, you can release your hands. So releasing the hands after your next round and just be with your breath, natural breathing. Okay. So now the next one is Udgit, or the Oms. And again, here, I'm just going to time you for a couple minutes. So what you'll do is you'll inhale through your nose and exhale Om out loud. So it's 3 parts. And make sure you have enough time, at least 1/3 of that sound is the M sound at the end. And as you do that, just focus on that vibration moving from the base of your spine to the crown of your head on every Om. It goes from the bottom up to the top. And if you don't have to chant it super loud, do what just is natural and comfortable for you today. And you can also do it internally if you can't make noise. So go ahead, just chanting the Om Udgit. And then after your next Om, you can just relax the breath and just come back to being present in your body. Notice how that vibration may have shifted how you feel. And then just with your attention in the center of your head, have a couple minutes of meditation. So if you have a focus point, then begin using that. Otherwise, as you inhale, mentally say to yourself, so, and exhale, mentally say to yourself, hum. And when the mind wanders, because it usually does, just bring it back to that focus point. And just keep bringing your mind back to your focus. And then keep the eyes closed. Begin a light Ujjayi breath. So constriction in your throat. You can turn the hands to face down on the knees. So the palms are against the knees, just grounding a little bit more into the physical body. And take an inhale. And as you exhale, lower your chin toward your chest. And as you inhale, bring your face back to neutral. And then your next exhale would be to turn the face up toward the ceiling, lengthen through the neck. And then inhale back to center. And do that again. So as you exhale, chin toward the chest, lengthen through the backside of your neck. Inhale would bring you back to neutral. And then exhale, just lengthen the chin toward the ceiling. Don't necessarily have to drop the head all the way back, just lengthen through the throat. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, bring your right ear towards your right shoulder. And inhale, bring it back to center. Exhale your left ear towards your left shoulder. And inhale to center. And do that sequence once more. Move with your breath, noticing the places you pass through in the neck. And then once you're back in the center, exhale, chin toward the chest, and make a circle with your nose up in the air and then down around. So you're going to the side, back, side, and down. And do that, a full circle twice in one direction. And then a full circle twice in the other direction. Again, lengthening through the throat when you go back, but not necessarily dropping the head all the way back so that you kink it and create any tension or pain. So the neck, the cervical spine, especially those nerves that come out of that area that we're just working with, are what fuel our senses, our sight, our hearing, our smell, taste. And our senses are how we experience the world. So when you're complete, come back to neutral and then gently open your eyes. So learn how to transition from your inner to your outer world slowly. So slowly open the eyes and then come onto your mat on your hands and knees. You're going to come into the cat pose, Bidalasana. And you're going to do the Bidalasana cat pose 10 times. So you'll line up your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips, toes curled under to support your knees. And go ahead as you're ready. Drop your belly, spread your chest, and look up. Then exhale, round your back. Press your spine toward the ceiling, chin to chest. Good. So 10 times using your breath. Use your breath to move your body. See if you can find that pattern of using your breath and starting the movement with the tailbone. And just connecting into the breath. Have your length of your movement be exactly the length of your breath. No longer, no shorter. Creating a complete harmony. Take your time to finish. When you are complete, the next practice will be downward dog. So you'll walk your knees back a couple inches and come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog, lifting your hips up and back. And just breathe into the backs of the legs. Good. Drishti, or your gaze between your big toes. And just breathe here. Active thighs, press into the hands. Just waking up the backside of your body for a few breaths. Keep the breath fluid and smooth. Keep your mind with how you're feeling, with how your breath is flowing. Take 2 more Ujjayi breaths, and when you're complete, lower your knees to the mat. And then you'll transition into butterfly. So you'll come to sit on your buttocks. You can do that by crossing your ankles and sitting back over your heels, or you can just swing the legs to the side. You'll bring your feet out in front of you and feet together, and it's a long diamond. It's different than the butterfly pose we work with. We're not bringing the heels close to the pelvis. It's actually going to be a diamond shape where it's long from your pelvis to your toes. But the balls of the feet and the heels will stay together. You can reach behind and pull the fleshy part of your buttocks back if you like, and start with your hands just lightly on the floor beside you. This is a passive pose that's going to help to release tension in the hips and enhance the suppleness of the ligaments. So from here, work first toward bringing your pelvis upright. If the pelvis is rounded back, move your hands back, keep a straight spine, and over time, work toward coming straight up. If you're straight up, you can start to pivot from your pelvis. So the back stays straight. You can pivot forward, walk your hands forward as you do that, and just find a place where you're not pushing or stressing, where you can be and just breathe. If you've come at least halfway forward with a straight back, you can actually round your back and let the head hang as well. But we're going to be here for a few minutes. So it's important that there continues to be blood flow and energy flow through the hips and the pelvis. If there's not, you'll feel tingling or numbness. And in that case, you need to back up a little bit. But go ahead and just find that place. Focus your eyes on one spot and keeping the balls of the feet and the soles of the feet connected, just breathe and let go. So not trying to force or push anything. The passive poses are about allowing gravity to do the work and just surrendering. The ligaments are what hold bones near one another. And As Vata dosha dries up in us, the air and the ethers element becomes more prominent, which happens naturally as we age some. It happens when we go into colder seasons, like winter, for I think all of us here. And it also happens when we go into fear. But what happens is that they dry out. So Vata dosha gets high, the ligaments dry out, and that's when we start to lose mobility in the hips and the pelvis. Also, walking on concrete, sitting in chairs makes them tighten up. So these poses are incredibly valuable for maintaining the comfort and flexibility of our lower bodies long term. So continue with an Ujjayi breath. Again, not pushing or forcing, just breathing and letting go. So the tightness that we experience in our body, it actually comes from the mind, from the tension in the mind, which blocks the flow of the channels. A really interesting thing is that when people go and have surgeries and whatnot, and they have anesthetics, what anesthesia does is it actually takes the spirit as far away from the body as possible without going to the point of death. So when that spirit is taken to that extent out of the body, the mind is also taken out of the picture, right? So when doctors are operating on patients, they have to be very, very careful not to dislocate their joints, because there's no mental tension that's creating stiffness. It doesn't matter how tight the person is. It's pretty incredible. So take 3 more Ujjayi breaths here. Making sure the balls of the feet and the heels are still touching. And after your 3rd breath, you can bring your torso upright. Place your hands on the outside of your knees and very gently bring the legs together. And then you can cross your legs and roll forward onto your hands and knees. Come into a plank position and just lower all the way down onto your belly. You'll prop yourself up on your forearms from there for Sphinx pose. So widen your feet to the edges of your mat. Tops of the feet are on the mat, heels are toward the ceiling, and your elbows are under your shoulders, and the forearms are parallel with one another. Fingers spread, hands flat on the mat, and then press into the mat and lift the crown of your head toward the ceiling. At the same time, press into your hands and pull your sternum or your breastbone forward. So creating length. And then relax the muscles of the back. Relax the muscles of the buttocks and the legs. And just have only as much effort needed to keep the spine lifting. And just allow the ribs to drop down and breathe here. Make sure there's no pain in the spine. If there is, you can extend the tailbone a little bit and see if that helps. If that does not help, let me know. But the crown of the head will stay up toward the ceiling. So what the ligaments, and then again, just focus the eyes on one spot out in front of you that's not moving. So there's also ligaments in between each one of the vertebrae, those little bones that are all along the spine. And they also can get tight and dry. And there's a big web of ligaments at the front side of the sacrum. So when posture starts to collapse as people age, if you have noticed the posture starts to cave in, a lot of it's from the dryness in the front side of the sacrum, pulling everything inward, and also in the ligaments between the vertebrae. So keep lifting, pressing into the forearms, lifting and drawing your sternum forward. Good breathing. And then keep the lift pressing away from your forearms. Keep the shoulders where they are, chest spread. On your next exhale, lower your chin very slowly towards your chest. And just notice how that changes, any sensation in your back, in your neck. And just let the head hang there as much as possible for a few breaths here. I'll let you know when to shift out of it. Again, remember the back muscles, the buttocks are relaxed, just lifting out of the arms, the shoulders. And now slowly inhale, bring the head back up to center. On your next exhale, turn your face to look over your right shoulder. So the top of the head should stay toward the ceiling. Don't drop it down to turn the face. Just turn the face only as much as you can. Let your eyeballs look around the corner as well. So give them a stretch. And then very slowly breathe your face back to center. And then opposite side, exhale, turn your face toward the left. Again, keep the top of the head exactly in its orientation it is. And then breathe the head back to center. And breathe here for 3 more breaths only in Sphinx pose. And when you're complete, you'll just stack one hand on top of the other, elbows out to the side, and lower your head down onto the backs of your hands. Yeah. And then just breathe there, laying on your belly, elbows out to the side, forehead on the back of the hands. And then slowly prop yourself up on your elbows, bring your legs together, come into child's pose, Balasana. So Balasana is most commonly translated as child's pose, but Balasana is actually the embryo pose. So it has a much deeper meaning than child's pose. It's when it helps to create that feeling of security and that inward connection, that sense of relaxation and being supported and cared for that we have when we're in utero. So as you breathe here, take your attention to your sacrum, that flat spine at the lower, the flat bone at the lower part of your spine, and use your breath to lift the sacrum and gently lower it as you exhale. And just follow that pattern, light Ujjayi breath. Just allowing your nervous system this period of time to calm itself. So this pose, part of why this pose is so valuable is because all of our senses are on the front side of the body. It's where we experience ourselves as more vulnerable, right? If you think about people who are insecure, they start to cave inward, right? Their posture collapses inward. And so as we come into this type of position and breathe here, then the nervous system just gets to relax. There's no feeling of needing to protect ourselves from life. And then as you're ready, place your hands under the shoulders and gently press yourself up. Then you'll come into a plank and then lower down onto your belly and roll onto your back. Or just come down to your back in whatever way is comfortable. Have your strap near you. And then extend the legs up into the air. And then bend your knees and loop your strap around the balls of your feet. And then extend your legs into the air. Great. So now, strap is at the balls of the feet, and gently pull the strap toward you. And at the same time, press your balls of your feet a little bit away from you so you engage the legs there. The whole back should be on the mat, including that flat part at the base of your spine. And just walk your hands forward on the strap until there's only a slight bend in the elbows, but the backs of your shoulders should be on the ground. And then you use that strap to keep pulling your legs in. So you keep bending at your hips to bring the thighs closer to you, but keep the legs straight and just go as much as is comfortable. And breathe here. So again, I don't want you counting right now, just breathing, just feeling the breath going into your belly and then your ribs and your chest, just surrendering to the moment. Letting go of the control of the mind, just knowing that you're breathing, the prana is flowing, and that I will soon tell you when to release. Notice the grip you have with your hands. Are you tense? as you hold the strap? Can you soften that and imagine just holding a little baby bird or a butterfly in the palm of your hand there? Let go of any desire to force or push or strive here. We do too much of that. But just bring yourself to a point where you feel a little bit of challenge, and then just breathe and let your breath create the space for you in this pose. Now you can take 3 more Ujjayi breaths for yourself. And when you're complete, just remove the strap and bend your knees so your thighs come towards your chest and your heels go towards your buttocks. So it's like you're in child's pose almost, but on your back. And then wrap your arms around your legs, around your shins, just below your knees. Yeah. And you can relax your feet there. And now stay here if there's any pain and problems in the neck, but otherwise curl your forehead towards your knees and take 5 breaths there with your forehead towards your knees, chin tucked in towards your chest, just squeezing yourself into this teeny little package. And after 5 breaths, you can relax and release. And then just gently roll to the side, press yourself up to watch me a moment. Do a restorative back bend. So you'll have your bolster or a blanket roll or a towel roll, and you'll lay it across your mat. And then what you're going to do is just lay down onto that. So it's about the level of the bra strap. And you'll let your head relax. If there feels like there's too much lengthening in your neck, put some pillows under your head to give it more support. And then your arms will be out to the side, not higher than shoulder height. They should be shoulder height or even a little bit lower than that. Okay. And so you can go ahead and come into your position. If it's a little bit cool in the space that you're in, you can put a blanket over your body to keep yourself warm and relaxed. The knees can stay bent if you like, especially if there's any pain in the back. But otherwise, you can just extend the legs out, keep them about hip width apart, not any wider than that. And again, the bolster should be right at near the bra strap area. And check in, and if it feels like the neck is straining, like it's pulling on your neck, or you feel any anxiety or anxiousness, then a cushion under your head. Good. The throat chakra. So this pose, I want you to take your attention in this pose to, first of all, the center of your chest. Now, of course, the breath is going to start in the belly and then go into the chest, the ribs and the chest. But really feel that expansion of the center of your chest. The center of the chest is where the spiritual heart is. Anahata. And anahata in Sanskrit means unstruck. I think that's quite beautiful. When we're connected to our anahata, we're unstruck. We're free. So the eyes can be closed as long as you keep your attention in the center of your head, your awareness on your breath, and on the sensations of your relaxing body. But if you notice you're dozing off or falling asleep, it's best to keep the eyes open, softly open, just gazing at one spot. With every cycle of breath, again, you're just working in the belly first, keeping the light Ujjayi sound, feeling the spreading of the chest, and then on the exhales, really let go. Every exhale, just see if you can completely give yourself to the support of the bolster, the support of the earth, to the support of the energy of life. Staying aware of how any sensations change in your body. Being in your beautiful body is such a gift in this life. And think of how much your body has done for you over the years you've been on this planet, how much life it's allowed you to live. Giving it this time is such a gift. Stay with the light Ujjayi breathing. And just let any emotion that might come through. So as we start to really care for ourselves and allow the nervous system to relax, sometimes for the first times ever, we go to different layers of that. But there's prana, or there's life force that moves through us and bumps up against some of the hurt or some of the holding on that might be there. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. But if it is, just be present to it. Just let it flow. It means the practices are working. It means there's a level of freedom that you're able to experience moving forward. Sometimes there's a tenderness that comes forth just from giving ourselves this time to show love and attention to these beautiful bodies. Go ahead and count 5 more Ujjayi breaths. Have them be a little bit deeper right now. It's preparing to transition. And after those 5 breaths, very slowly, bend your knees, place your feet on the mat, and then roll to the side to press yourself up to sitting. Again, going gently. And then the next pose is going to be similar. You'll lay down on your back, have your bolster or your roll near you, and you'll lift your hips up and slide the bolster under your sacrum. So again, your sacrum is that flat bone near the base of your spine. So it's not on my lower back, and it's not fully on my buttocks only. It's right at the in-between place. So it's going to be partway on the buttocks, that flat bone. And then you can keep the knees up here if it's better for your back, or you can extend the legs just about hip width apart. Okay. And this is a version of Setu Bandhasana, or bridge pose, done in a restorative way. So go ahead and set yourself up, placing that bolster, that roll underneath your sacrum. And finding a comfortable place there, again, covering yourself if you need. Breathing and letting go. can use something to cover the eyes if that's comfortable for you. Again, if you can keep your awareness in the space you're in and in the process that you're in. Otherwise, you can opt to gently gaze at one spot on the ceiling. Now continue to work your Ujjayi breath from the base of the spine or the lower belly into the ribs and the chest. And while you do that, just relax into the sacrum, relax the pelvis. So these lower chakras, the base of the spine is Muladhara, or the root. And the second chakra is Swadhisthana. So having to do with our instincts, our grounding, our belonging, our emotions, sexuality. So this pose and the last one we've done, we've transitioned to the restorative category of poses. So as we fully support the body and focus on the breath and letting go, then the body relaxes. And as the body relaxes and lets go, the nervous system and the mind relax and let go. And as the mind calms down, the body lets go a little more. And as the body calms down, the mind lets go. So it's just this beautiful cycle of letting go. Stay with the light Ujjayi breath. Continuing to be aware of how you feel in your body and how that changes. Staying with your breath just a little longer. Letting go of your body. Now take 5 more breaths, deepening the breath, preparing to transition. After those 5 breaths, bend the knees, gently roll to the side, and press yourself up. Come to hands and knees on your mat, moving the bolster out of the way. And come on hands and knees, practice 10 more Vidalasana, 10 more cat pose. And be with your breath and notice if there's a change in how you experience this pose, how you experience your breath move in your body from when you began this class. So hands under your shoulders, fingers spaced equal distance apart, knees under your hips, knees and feet fist width apart, and toes curled under. 10 rounds of the cat pose. Belly, you inhale, belly can drop to the floor, look up. Exhale, round your back, chin to chest, press your spine toward the ceiling. Completely sync your breath and your body. Feeling the articulation of each part of your spine, each part of your beautiful spine. Hold your torso up, allows you to walk about life. When you're complete with your 10 cycles, come back to neutral, walk your knees back a couple inches, and lift your sit bones up and back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And again, here in your downward dog, just notice, does this feel different? Does it feel different in your body? Does it feel different in your breath? Does it feel different in any way? Any layers of those koshas, Annamaya, the body, Pranamaya, the breath, Manomaya, the mind. And then as you're ready, stay there as long as you want, but as you're ready, you can lower the knees to the mat. And then come onto your back, preparing for Shavasana, the corpse pose. So again, just make sure that you're warm enough. Cover your body if you like. Something to cover your eyes for sure, whether it's a piece of clothing, a scarf, pillow. Feet a little wider than the hips. The toes fall out to the sides. Hands a little away from the body with the palms facing up. And completely let go of your breath now and follow along with the guided relaxation. Relax your toes, tops of your feet, soles of your feet, and your ankles, your shins, calves, and your knees. Relax the fronts of your thighs, the backs of your thighs, and your groin, your hips. Relax both legs completely. Both legs are completely relaxed. Relax your buttocks, low back, middle back, upper back. Relax your spine from the sacrum to your skull. Soften your belly. Relax the ribs and the chest and the shoulders. Relax your whole torso. Whole torso is relaxed. Relax your upper arms, elbows, forearms, and your wrists. Backs of your hands, palms of your hands, and your fingers. Relax both arms completely. Both arms are completely relaxed. Relax your neck, throat, and your head. Relax your scalp, and even all those little hairs. The hair is an extension of the nervous system. Just let your hairs relax. Relax your face, your forehead, space between the eyebrows, your cheeks, mouth, jaw, and your tongue. Relax your eyes. Let your eyeballs just sink back into their sockets. Relax your brain. Completely relax your whole head. Whole head is completely relaxed. Completely relax your whole body. Whole body is completely relaxed. And then gently begin to deepen your breath. Deepen your breath in your body and move your breath into each and every single one of your cells, bringing them life. Breathe right into the tips of your fingers and tips of your toes. Roll your wrists and ankles a couple times. And then as you're ready, reach your arms over your head and very slowly stretch out, and then transition by rolling to the side, coming to sitting with your eyes closed. Notice how you feel. Notice your breath. Notice your body. We're going to chant the Loka mantra, the same one we chanted at the beginning of class, once again, 12 times. Remind the mantra is Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. 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 May all beings everywhere be free and at peace. And may my own actions, our actions, contribute to that for all. So bring your hands together at the center of the chest in Anjali Mudra, our prayer position, and we'll chant the Om Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. So it's always good to take a moment to just notice how you feel, and maybe even doing a little bit of journaling or just jot it down, just what shifted in you. We talked at the beginning about the koshas, those 5 layers of our being. So Annamaya kosha, the body sheath, Pranamaya kosha, the breath, Manomaya kosha, the mind, and then Vijnanamaya kosha, the wisdom body, and Anandamaya kosha, the bliss body. So we all have that wisdom, we all have that bliss. We just need to harmonize ourselves in order to begin to experience that more in our daily experience. So a common occurrence is that we get all caught up in our heads and we get confused often, right? About big things, what path do I take in life? What decision do I make? But also about little things, what to choose. Do I choose to go out today or not go out today? Do I choose to say yes to this commitment or no to this commitment? Do I want to eat X for dinner? Do I want to eat Y for dinner? Like sometimes we just get so confused and so flustered. And so any type of confusion that we find ourselves in, it just means that we're disconnected from our truth, from our knowledge, from our bliss, from our wisdom. And taking the time to do even 1 or 2 of these practices a day, even just to pause and just be aware of your breath, how it's flowing in your body, creates an expansiveness. So it creates an expansiveness that goes beyond the problem that allows for the solution to come to us. We don't have to try to figure it out. When you don't know what to do, one of the most valuable things we can do is not do anything at all, in the sense of don't make a decision. Just do the next right thing in your life. Just go out and take a walk. Just go and put the dishes in the dishwasher if that's what needs to be done. You know, whatever it is, just do the next right thing. Don't make a decision, and just keep doing things that bring you more connected to and more harmonized with those layers of being. And then that wisdom will become active. You'll connect into that bliss body, and you'll know. And so that's how we get clarity. So again, when there's seeming problems in life, then we typically get small and constricted, but that shuts off our energy. It shuts off that divine inspiration of knowing what's next for us. So the more expansiveness that we create through our practices, through connecting with nature, through being with our breath, through connecting with other people who are cultivating more consciousness, we'll say, or a more balanced way of living. So even in little sessions like this, or working with people, then the clarity comes. And so I just wanted to end on that note, that that all of these practices are for us to connect in with truth, ultimately, with satya. And then life becomes very easy, becomes smooth. Any questions or any thoughts? You can unmute yourself, or you can type in the box. Anything you noticed?
Hiya.
Hi.
I just noticed it was really helpful when you said to go into downward dog again and see how you felt after, and your breath, and I really could feel the difference.
Yeah.
It felt so much smoother, and my body it felt quite tight, I think, at the beginning, and towards the end it just felt so much more relaxed and ease, just a real ease, being able to breathe and move.
And sometimes we can get going pretty fast in life, and things get constricted. We don't even realize it, or we become habituated to it. Like that downward dog might have felt pretty good compared to some past downward dogs, the one you did at the beginning of class. But doing these things that might not necessarily seem as dramatic or as gross in nature as some of the other things we might be doing in life, it has such an impact. So you can see how even that pose, the downward dog, it changed for you significantly, just because of harmonizing these layers in these subtle ways. So really great observation.
I would like to ask something. When we're doing the butterfly,
Yes.
With the diamond shape, usually when I do the normal butterfly, like my hips are gives, and I never have like pain in the hips when I need to open them. Yeah. But doing the diamond shape, I was feeling a lot on my knees. And we were talking a bit about the energy, the vata, and that. So I wanted to ask if that was something related.
Yes, definitely. And so the pain in the knees, that will come from what the passive poses are doing is that they're helping us to get beyond the muscles and into the ligaments more. So they almost show us, I like to think about it as a deeper level of what's happening in the body, because the muscles are a little more superficial, right? They're more the external, the ligaments holding the bones near one another. Those are deeper in a sense. And so it's not uncommon that the muscles will be flexible and have openness, and those channels will be flowing, the prana will be flowing, but that the ligaments underneath can still be quite tight and dry. And so, and so then that comes from, then we just need to walk through those motions. And again, when vata tends to have been higher, if there's been big life changes, having a baby would be an example, moving countries would be an example, just a whole lot of things, right? or even just moving in general, or fear something happening with a loved one in your life that creates that fear, then it can create that tension, that dryness on the deeper level than the muscles. So when I first started practicing, I also was fairly flexible, but these passive poses, oh man, they threw me for a loop. All of a sudden I was not flexible in these. And I also had pain in my knees. And that comes from, that does come from the tensor fasciae lata as well on the outside here, which will pull. So you can actually just press into that band and just use your thumb and press into it and breathe and hold until any tension releases. And you'll be able to find tense areas in there. You just have to fuss around a little bit sometimes. But then also just putting cushions underneath, evenly on each side. I'll use my bolster as an example, just as close as you can to the thigh, just so that there's some support there as you work in this pose. And it will actually change pretty quickly. But yeah, it has to do with the dryness. It has to do with some of that holding on, some of that deeper tension in the hips, which comes from a lot of times trying to control life, I guess we can say.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, my teacher would talk about a lady who was very flexible in her forward fold. She would flop right over, very flexible. And then she came to one of her classes and did a pose called square pose, which we can work on next month when we do this class. And it's where you cross the legs like this in a square type position, and then you fold forward. And this woman, she was so upset because she was used to just being able to do a forward fold very easily, but she had pain in her knees, had to lean back like this. Her legs were super high up. And it was that much difference between what was happening in the ligaments and what was happening in the muscles. That's how significant that can be. So ultimately what we want to do on many levels is have our outsides and our insides match. So we talk about that in terms of how we live our lives, right? We want how we express ourselves on the outside to match our insides, that we're not just doing things on the outside because we think we should. We're doing it because it really matches what our truth is. Well, we also want the inside, that level of suppleness of the inside components of our body, the ligaments, for example, to match the outside flexibility. And so insides and outsides matching is something that can be looked at in a variety of levels, but working with passive poses, but also working with active poses are very valuable. One nice thing to do is a nice thing to do is to start your asana practice with a passive pose, because it wakes up the ligaments in a way that you can access the muscles a little deeper. And this is a fun thing you can try on your own too, is do a downward dog at the beginning of your practice, and then do something like butterfly for 3 to 5 minutes, and then do another downward dog and see how that feels. How when you wake up the ligaments in that way, how it shifts your ability to access your muscles. But starting off your practice, if you're practicing the Ashtanga series, for example, even, or another set series, that you can just do it for a few minutes before and then move on to your practice, and you get that influence as part of your practice on a regular basis.
I will try.
Great. Good. Anything else? Okay, beautiful. Lovely to have you here. Yeah, just remember those koshas. You have your body, we have our body sheath, we have our breath sheath, we have our mind sheath, we have our wisdom sheath, and we have our bliss sheath. So there's things we can do to cultivate all of those, but just working with the body, the breath, and the mind on a regular basis, just being aware of how you can do little things to support that during the day. Expose yourself to some spiritual teachings for that wisdom kosha, or some talks or some journaling to start to access the deeper parts of you. And then for that bliss, just doing these types of things, being in nature, and just see how that starts to change your experience in life. But lovely to see you all. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you again very soon. Namaste.